we'd love to hear your backstory and just how you got to where you are with your relative athletic score system.
Yeah, so I joined the Navy right outside of high school, and I worked as a cryptologist, which is a very cool sounding job. And there are cool elements to it, but I can't talk about my job when I was in the Navy, which also sounds cooler than the job was. It's just the nature of the stuff that I worked with. But it helped me really start getting into coding and trend analysis and things like that, which later on would eventually lead to me doing things like building RAS. RAS itself started in 2013. I had conceptually had the idea for some time, but it was the Le'Veon Bell draft, where when Le'Veon Bell was coming out, we always have these superlatives that we use for players, right? And you still get them. We still talk about these superlatives every year. You know, this guy is quick but not fast. This guy is explosive. This guy is agile. This guy is, fast for his size. These are all superlatives that don't really mean anything unless you have some context behind them. And Le'Veon Bell kept getting referred to as unathletic. That was the whole, every scouting report it seemed like I read on Bell said that he was unathletic. And it all came down to his 40-yard dash, which is a 4.6. It's not a great 40-yard dash, but it's an okay one, especially for a guy that's 230 pounds. So it bothered me that that was the terminology that was used throughout the entire draft cycle to talk about him. Especially when this is a guy who's 230 pounds and ran a 675 in the 3-cone. That's like little scat back type of agility. And this is a bigger dude. And although his 40-yard dash wasn't very good, his 10-yard split and 20-yard split were perfectly fine. He isn't slow by any measure. Even by that measure, he isn't slow. But they used that terminology the whole time. And I was like, fine, I'm just going to make a thing that we can look at to see, contextualize this, compare them to their position group, and see what a good test is, because I knew that a 4.6 was just okay for a guy his size. But the way the media was portraying it, you'd have thought he walked the 40, So I wanted to build out something that was intuitive, and I landed on a 0 to 10 scale. It is effectively percentile when you're looking at each of the individual scores. You just move the decimal point over. But I wanted to use 0 to 10 because it's easy to explain to people. If somebody's trying to figure out whether that's good or not, it's usually a scale of 1 to 10, or in my case, 0 to 10 works better because 0 automatically means it's bad. Nobody uses 0 as a measure of good, right?
Right.
So it was something very easy. And when I started doing the visualization, I just stoplight color coded everything, because that's another thing that everybody at a glance can get an idea and understand. We talked before about how, the league seems to be using RAS. They use something similar. Every team has their own analytics department. They've got a dedicated team of people that they pay to do this stuff. They have access to more data than any of us will ever get, including their own tests that we'll never see because they're behind closed doors in private workouts. But what RAS does offer is a very, very close analog to what a lot of NFL teams use. It isn't so much that they use RAS, but whatever they're using is similar enough that you can use RAS to get an idea of the types of players that your team is looking for. You saw it this year with the Bears draft class and a couple of other ones where they seem to if you weren't green, they weren't touching you. Mm-hmm. That's really what it is they're looking for elite athletes, and RAS does a good job of identifying elite athletes.